Before beginning, may I please request everyone to kindly put their phones on silent? Thank you. Namaskar and good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, and respected delegates. It is a privilege to welcome you all to the National Conference on the Rights of Older Persons titled Assessing the Structural Framework, Legal Safeguards, and Social Security Rights and Institutional Protection of India's Elderly, organized by the National Human Rights Commission. As we gather here today, we are reminded of the vital responsibility we share in ensuring the dignity, security, and well-being of our elderly population. Aging is not just a biological process, but also a societal change that requires collective effort and action. Putting into perspective the light-hearted yet impactful words of George Burns, "You can't help getting older, but you don't have to get old." We aim to explore today the pressing issues faced by the elderly of our nation and deliberate on strategies to ensure their rights, care, and empowerment. Joining us in this vital endeavor are senior officials from ministries of the government, academicians, healthcare professionals, NGOs, and civil society representatives, entrepreneurs, and domain experts. We humbly welcome you all. Without further ado, to begin our inaugural session, I would now request Shri Devendra Kumar Nim, Joint Secretary, NHRC, to kindly formally welcome our dignitaries by presenting a planter to Srimati Vijaya Bharti Sayani, Honorable Acting Chairperson, NHRC. I request the Dice Committee to please have the planters. Shri Bharat Lal, Secretary General, NHRC. Shri Amit Yadav, Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Shri Ajay Bhatnagar, Director General, Investigation, NHRC. Thank you, sir. Continuing our inaugural session, I would now like to invite Shri Devendra Kumar Nim, Joint Secretary, NHRC, to deliver the welcome address. Sir.
Honorable Acting Chairperson, NHRC, Srimati Vijaya Bharti Sayani ji, Honorable Chairpersons and members of National Commissions, Honorable Chairperson and members of State Human Rights Commission, respected Secretary General Shri Bharat Lal ji, respected Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment Shri Amit Yadav ji, respected Secretaries of various departments, Honorable Present and former senior officers from Judiciary, Additional Secretaries and Joint Secretaries of various ministries, departments present here, Director Generals, Additional Director Generals, Inspector Generals from State Police Forces, CAPFs, senior representatives from medical fraternity, special rapporteurs and special monitors of the NHRC, members of various core groups of NHRC, representatives from civil society organizations, representatives from non-governmental organizations, management of old age homes, shelter homes who are present here, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. It is a matter of great honor and privilege for me to extend a very warm welcome to all the esteemed guests and dignitaries present here to attend this National Conference on Rights of Older Persons. I would also like to extend a special welcome to the distinguished chairs of all the 3 technical sessions. Today, Dr. V.K. Paul, Member Niti Aayog, Shri Amit Yadav, Secretary Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ms. Andrea M. Woznar, Resident Country Representative from UNFPA India, and all the esteemed panelists of the 3 technical sessions joining in person and online. Today we have gathered here with a shared commitment to address the challenges faced by older persons in our society and to deliberate on effective strategies to safeguard their rights. While getting older is inevitable, making sure that the dignity, well-being and rights of our elderly citizens are upheld is our responsibility. So I would say this is just not a conference today, but a little investment in our own future as well. The conference is being convened at a time when the demographic landscape of our nation is undergoing significant change. With a growing population of elderly citizens whose rights, well-being, and dignity are critical concerns for all of us. The elderly are like trees in a garden. Even if they no longer bear fruit, they continue to provide shade. The analogy highlights the profound value our seniors contribute to our lives. Even as their most active years have passed, their wisdom, experience, and presence offer us invaluable guidance and comfort. And it is up to us to ensure that they are treated with the dignity they rightfully deserve. This conference aims to bring together all stakeholders to examine the current status of the rights of older persons, understanding the gaps in existing framework, and discuss a comprehensive plan for their empowerment and protection. Our theme for today, assessing the structural framework, legal safeguards, social security rights, and institutional protection of India's elderly, reflects the complexity of challenges faced by our elderly population. It invites us to critically examine whether the existing frameworks are sufficient and what more can be done to secure a life of dignity for them. It will focus on 3 key dimensions through 3 technical sessions, moving from addressing the issue of aging of the aged to understanding how aging impacts both the genders differently, focusing on the experience and challenges of elderly women also, to evaluating the current healthcare scenario in our country for the elderly population. Over the course of 3 technical sessions, we will hear from a diverse range of speakers about the targeted policies, community interventions, specific vulnerabilities of elderly women, and how we can design gender-sensitive interventions to address their needs, the current healthcare provisions for the elderly, healthy aging, etc. India is home to over 140 million today senior citizens at present, and the number is expected to rise dramatically in the coming decades. This surge presents an urgent need to ensure that our elderly live with dignity and comfort, the quality, affordable, and accessible health care alongside emotional, physical, and financial support, which are essential in the pursuit. As a society, our strength lies in how we can care for our most vulnerable members. The importance of creating robust systems that protect their rights, legal, social, and economic cannot be overstated. The National Human Rights Commission is deeply committed to ensuring that the rights of older persons are recognized, protected, and promoted. The conference is a step towards creating a future where no senior citizen feels left behind or neglected. It would also not be out of place to mention here that and appreciate that the Government of India has taken many steps, important steps to recognize, protect, and promote the human rights of older persons. These measures address various aspects of elderly welfare, including legal protections, social security, health care, and institutional support. Some of the key initiatives include Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007, National Policy on Older Persons 1999, Draft National Policy for Senior Citizens 2020. Government has also launched various social security programs like the National Social Assistance Program, which provides financial assistance to elderly citizens below the poverty line. National Old Age Pension Scheme, which offers pension to senior citizens. Pradhan Mantri Vay Vandan Yojana, another pension scheme from senior citizens, and Atal Pension Yojana. Social security schemes are essential to uphold their dignity, ensuring they can live independently, thereby maintaining their self-respect and quality of life. Similarly, efficient, available, accessible, and affordable health is also extremely crucial for all, especially for the elderly. Due to the rising aging population, increase in prevalence of chronic diseases, etc., various programs by the government are in place, including the National Program for the Health Care of the Elderly, which aims to provide dedicated health care facility for the elderly, with special geriatric units in district hospitals and regional centers for geriatric care, and the Ayushman Bharat, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, a health insurance scheme for older persons. There are also helplines for elderly, like Elder Line 14567, which provides services to address grievances, provide information, and ensure the safety of elderly individuals. India's international commitment to the rights of older persons are also primarily reflected in participating in various global frameworks and conventions, and advocate for the protection and promotion of the rights of the elderly. India has endorsed the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, which emphasizes older persons' participation in society, their well-being, and the protection of human rights. India is also a signatory to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which includes goals that specifically address the need of older persons, particularly in areas such as health, well-being, and social inclusion. India also actively participates in international forums like the United Nations Open-Ended Working Group on Aging to strengthen international norms on the rights of older persons. Esteemed participant, addressing the needs of elderly requires a comprehensive approach combining policy, healthcare, and innovation to ensure that our aging population is treated with dignity, respect, and care they deserve. At the end of the conference, we aim to draw up actionable recommendations to strengthen the protection and promotion of the rights of older persons. This will include policy suggestions, improved coordination between government and non-government entities, and innovative solutions for a more inclusive society. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that government alone cannot address all the issues. Civil society organizations, NGOs, corporates, and the communities all have to work together to have they also have a crucial role to play in supporting the causes of older persons. Whether through community-based care, elderly helplines, or social inclusion initiatives, these organizations can provide the ground support that is often more personal and immediate than just governmental intervention. From today's discussion, we expect to mark a significant step forward in our collective effort to create a society where older persons are valued and protected. I encourage each one of you to share your thoughts, insights, and experiences so that we can work together toward a future where the rights of older persons are fully realized. I would like to quote from Nelson Mandela, what is the importance of the older persons in society. A society that does not value its older persons, people, denies its roots and endangers its future. Let us strive to enhance the capacity to support themselves for as long as possible, and when they cannot do so anymore, to care for them I would like, it is my personal also, because my respected secretary is also sitting there. We are grateful to him that from Secretary from Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Presently, we have about 15 crore older person in our country, and they will change rapidly. By 2050, we will have about 32 crores. Whether we can explore today in 3 sessions an idea to have a separate department for the elderly affairs or separate ministry in future, we can also explore while discussing. This is my personal idea from the National Human Rights Commission. I am just whether it can be explored. So thank you very much. I once again welcome all of you and request all of you to interact actively and suggest and contribute in the noble cause of older person. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward to set the tone for today's discussions and outline the agenda, I now invite Shri Bharatlal, Secretary General, NHRC, to kindly deliver his opening remarks. Sir.
Once again, good morning to you all. Namaskar. यहाँ मेरे ख्याल से मैं देख रहा हूँ कि हम सभी लोगों को हिंदी भाषी लोग हैं और मुझे खुशी है कि यहाँ पे ह्यूमन राइट डिफेंडर्स और एनजीओ और वहाँ से काफ़ी लोग आए हुए हैं. सो अगर आपकी इजाज़त है तो मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में बोलूँगा. माननीय एक्टिंग चेयरपर्सन नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन और मेरे एस्टीम्ड कोलीग अमित यादव जी, सेक्रेटरी सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट, डायरेक्टर जनरल इन्वेस्टिगेशन अजय भटनागर जी, देवेंद्र कुमार निम जी, ज्वाइंट सेक्रेटरी, ऑनरेबल चेयरपर्सन ऑफ स्टेट ह्यूमन राइट कमीशंस, सीनियर ऑफिसर्स, माय delegates from civil society, NGOs, human rights defenders, and young professionals. सबसे पहले तो मैं NHRC की तरफ से आप लोगों का स्वागत करता हूँ यहाँ पे. और क्योंकि NHRC की तरफ से हम लोग सुनने में ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड हैं. जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन जो है वो लोगों का जो एक मानवाधिकार है उसको प्रोटेक्ट करने और प्रमोट करने के लिए काम करता है. और उसका एक तीसरा डायमेंशन है कि हम आउटरीच भी करते हैं, लोगों में अवेयरनेस लाने की कोशिश करते हैं, जागरूकता लाने की कोशिश करते हैं, जिससे कि इन मुद्दाओं पे बात हो सके और कुछ काम हो सके. नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन जो सिविक और पॉलिटिकल राइट्स हैं, एज वी ऑल नो, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में गारंटीड हैं और सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज कस्टोडियन एंड ऑफ दोज राइट्स. बट जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक एंड कल्चरल राइट्स है और जो इस गवर्नमेंट ने जिस पे बहुत ध्यान दिया है कि नो वन इज़ लेफ्ट आउट, गरीब से गरीब आदमी. आजकल मैं एक फंक्शन में था शेड्यूल ट्राइब्स की, और मैं डेटा देख रहा था कि सरकार की जो स्कीम्स हैं, लाइक पीने का पानी है, हाउसिंग है, टॉयलेट है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है, कुकिंग गैस है, टेक एनी जनधन योजना है, इसका लाभ जो है मैक्सिमम जो सबसे पीछे था, एक शेड्यूल ट्राइब, सबसे ज़्यादा लाभ उनको पहुंचा है. दूसरा पहलू ये है कि समाज में और भी कुछ ऐसे मार्जिनलाइज सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी हैं. ट्रांसजेंडर ले लीजिए, नहीं, मेंटल हेल्थ के इशू, लेप्रोसी से अफेक्टेड लोग हैं, विडोज हैं, बेगर्स, पीपल इन्वॉल्व इन बेगिंग, मतलब बहुत से ऐसे ग्रुप्स हैं जिसमें कि बहुत काम करने की ज़रूरत है. क्योंकि हम लोग, जो हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, वो इस तरह के समाज की परिकल्पना करता है. और विदाउट एम्बैरेसिंग सेक्रेटरी सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट, आई एम जेन्युइनली वेरी हैप्पी एक्चुअली, बिकॉज आई हैव अ प्रिविलेज ऑफ नोइंग मिस्टर अमित यादव. पहले NDMC के वो चेयरपर्सन यहाँ थे और उसके पहले डायरेक्टर जनरल जो है वो फॉरेन ट्रेड थे. उनका बड़ा लंबा कैरियर रहा है और उनकी जो सेंसिटिविटी है इन मुद्दाओं पे, इन इश्यूज़ पे, एंड उसी सेंसिटिविटी की वजह से आई स्पोक टू हिम, रिक्वेस्टेड हिम, एंड ही वेरी रीडली एग्रीड कि नहीं, मेरा और भी प्रोग्राम में चेंज करता हूँ, मैं यहाँ आऊँगा और हम मिलजुल करके बात करेंगे कि आगे क्या करना है। तो हम लोग जो है नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन इन इश्यूज पे काम कर रहा है। मेंटल हेल्थ पे आपने देखा होगा लास्ट ईयर जो है वो कर रहा है, ट्रांसजेंडर पे काम कर रहा है, लेप्रोसी के जो लोग हैं उनकी जो है उनके साथ जो है थोड़ा सा जो उनका आइसोलेशन है या उनके साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है वो नहीं हो, मेंटल, इस तरह के बहुत से मुद्दों पे काम कर रहा है। आज हम लोगों ने ये किया है, नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन का ये 31 साल पूरे हुए हैं और उसका फाउंडेशन डे सेलिब्रेट हो रहा है। इससे बड़ा और मीनिंगफुल काम नहीं हो सकता है आज के दिन कि एक बहुत बड़ी पॉपुलेशन, क्योंकि लॉन्गेविटी हमारी बढ़ रही है, उम्र बढ़ रही है और समाज में भी परिवर्तन हो रहा है, एज वी ऑल नो, बिकॉज ऑफ मेटरलिज्म, बिकॉज ऑफ न्यूक्लियर फैमिली कॉन्सेप्ट, बिकॉज ऑफ मूवमेंट ऑफ पीपल। ओल्डर पीपल जो है दे आर लेफ्ट आउट, एट टाइम दे आर अपरूटेड फ्रॉम देयर कल्चरल एंड सोशल जो बैकग्राउंड है वहाँ से होते हैं। वी हैव आल्सो इन नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन वी हैव नोटिस कि दे आर आल्सो फेसिंग लॉट ऑफ बैंकिंग फ्रॉड और इवन वायलेंस अगेंस्ट देम। आई मीन कभी कभी बहुत मुझे दुख होता है कि हम बचपन में क्या सीखे थे कि पेरेंट्स या जो ओल्डर पर्सन है उनका आशीर्वाद हमेशा बना रहे हमारे साथ, कभी लाइबिलिटी की तरह नहीं देखा गया। बट समाज में परिवर्तन आ रहा है। बट इसको मैं थोड़ा सा एक डिफरेंट ढंग से पुट अप करना चाहूँगा। आज आप सब लोग इकट्ठा हुए हैं नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन से, सारे थिंकिंग लोग, ह्यूमन राइट डिफेंडर्स, सरकार की तरफ से सेक्रेटरी साहब खुद यहाँ मौजूद हैं। हमें एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है कि हमको इस परिस्थिति को चेंज करना है कि आदमी जो है 60, 65, 70 साल का हो जाए तो इसका मतलब है कि अपनी डेथ का इंतजार नहीं करे। आई थिंक उसकी क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ, उसकी प्रोडक्टिविटी, उसकी बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। नॉट ओनली कि उनकी सेफ्टी, सिक्योरिटी, डिग्निटी एक पार्ट है उनका, बट सेकेंड जो पार्ट बहुत है कि उनको एक अपॉर्चुनिटी क्रिएट करना, एक प्लेटफॉर्म क्रिएट करना कि कैसे वो कंटिन्यूड जो पूरी लाइफ करते आए हैं कि नेशन बिल्डिंग में, समाज के परिवार के उसमें दे कंटिन्यू टू कंट्रीब्यूट। सो मेरे संयुक्त सचिव साहब ने नंबर दिए हैं कि भाई 2050 तक जो है 30 करोड़ लोग जो है 60 साल की उम्र से ज़्यादा के यहाँ होंगे। एक बहुत बड़ा 20% पॉपुलेशन अगर आपके 20 से ज़्यादा होती है तो इसका मतलब है कि एक हमारे जो ये ओल्डर पर्सन्स हैं ये बहुत ही बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन कर सकते हैं। और ये सरकार का, हम सब का एक कलेक्टिव दायित्व है कि कैसे वो अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ क्रिएट की जाए, कैसे वो इनेबलिंग एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट किया जाए कि वो लोग एक जो कहते हैं ना कि सेकेंड इनिंग, एक बहुत मीनिंगफुल सेकेंड इनिंग हो सकती है। हर आदमी को नौकरी करने की जरूरत नहीं होती, बहुत से ऐसे काम होते हैं जो कि सेकेंड में हो सकते हैं। इनफैक्ट आई वाज सिटिंग विथ वन ऑफ द ग्रुप्स एक्चुअली, यू नो यहाँ पे मैं देख रहा हूँ बैठे हुए हैं, एक एनजीओ है संकला फाउंडेशन, उन लोग साथ बैठे थे। उन्होंने एक बहुत छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल दिया कि साहब जितने पेंशनर हैं आपको क्या करना है, उबराइजेशन, इतने पेंशनर हैं सबको, ग्रुप सी, डी, ए, बी सभी ग्रुप के लोग हैं, पूरी कंट्री के डिफरेंट जगह फैले हुए हैं, सबको पेंशन मिल रही है। इमेजिन करिए इसी देश में, चाहे वो स्कूल हो, चाहे डिस्पेंसरी हो, चाहे हॉस्पिटल हो, चाहे पार्किंग करवानी हो, चाहे वो प्लांटेशन का, हजारों काम ऐसे हैं जिसपे कि ये लोग जो है डिफरेंट जगह पे मेंटरिंग या वो कर सकते हैं। और सिर्फ एक उबराइजेशन करने की ज़रूरत है कि यहाँ पे इस योग्यता के लोग, इस अनुभव के लोग इन जगहों पे मौजूद हैं और इस तरह की एक्टिविटीज या काम है वो स्कूल कभी बुला सकता है, कभी हॉस्पिटल बुला सकता है, कभी बहुत से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बुला सकता है। इसका मतलब है कि हमको एक नए ढंग से सोचना पड़ेगा कि क्या हमारे जो ये एक बहुत बड़ा जो हमारा एक बहुत एक जो इनके पास इतना बड़ा ट्रेडिशनल विजडम है, नॉलेज है, एक्सपीरियंस है, नहीं, हाउ दैट कैन बी शेयर्ड एंड दैट कैन बी नो दिस थिंग। सो आज जो है 3 सेशन रखा गया है और जो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी कि सेक्रेटरी सोशल जस्टिस जो है उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं मैं खुद इसको चेयर करूंगा। ही हैज़ कम हियर। सेकेंड सेशन में UNFPA की जो कंट्री रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है वो आ रहे हैं और थर्ड सेशन में डॉक्टर VK पॉल हमारे जो मेंबर हेल्थ हैं वो आ रहे हैं, वो चेयर कर रहे हैं। आइडिया है आप सबका आइडिया डिस्कशन के बाद हो और उसके बाद हमारा प्लान ये है कि हम कमीशन के सामने इसको ले जाएं, रखें और एडवाइजरी इशू हो सकती है, मंत्रालय जो है इस पे कुछ काम कर सकता है कि कैसे इसको कलेक्टिवली इसको आगे बढ़ाया जाए। सो मेरी आप लोगों सभी से प्रार्थना है कि आप यहाँ आए हैं, दैट शोज योर इंटरेस्ट इन द सब्जेक्ट। यहाँ जितने भी लोग यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं उनका डीप इंटरेस्ट एंड कमिटमेंट जो है बड़ा क्लियर है। माई हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑल ऑफ यू इज कि काइंडली कंट्रीब्यूट, लेट्स कम आउट दोज रिकमेंडेशंस, दोज आइडियाज, व्हाट ऑल वी कैन डू collectively together. So once again I thank you and also welcome you to this conference, and I'm looking forward to hear more about the deliberations and outcome. Thank you all very much. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful opening remarks and for setting the agenda for today's conference. Your thoughtful introduction has laid a solid foundation for our discussions. We look forward to building upon the framework you have provided as we dive deeper into today's sessions. May I now request Srimati Vijay Bharti Sayani, Honorable Acting Chairperson, NHRC, to kindly deliver the keynote address. Ma'am.
Namaskar, namaskar. Respected dignitaries on dais, Manniya Bharatlal ji, Secretary General, National Human Rights Commission, DG Sir, Shri Ajay Bhatnagar ji, Shri Amit Yadav ji, Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and Shri Devendra Kumar Neem ji, JS, Srimati Anita ji, JS, Law Registrar Shri Joginder Singh ji, and other dear guests and colleagues, friends. As we gather today, I am humbled and honored to address you on a topic that touches the very heart of our humanity, the protection of the rights of our elders. In a world that often moves at a fast pace, it is imperative that we pause and reflect on the invaluable contributions of those who have paved the way for us. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atidhi Devo Bhava. Let us extend this respect and reverence to all our elders, ensuring that they are treated with the same love, care, and dignity that we would offer to our own parents and teachers. Our elders are the architects of our nation's history, the keepers of our cultural heritage, and the pillars of our families. They have dedicated their lives to nurturing us, guiding us, and shaping the world we live in. Yet too often, their wisdom, experience, and dignity are overlooked and undervalued. Imagine the pain and loneliness of an elderly person who, after a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice, finds themselves struggling to meet their basic needs. Imagine the fear and uncertainty that can consume an older adult who faces discrimination or neglect. Imagine the heartache of a family torn apart by elder abuse. These are not merely hypothetical scenarios. They are realities faced by countless older persons in our society. It is a stark reminder that the protection of the rights of our elders is not just a legal or policy matter, it is a deeply personal and social responsibility. The challenges faced by older persons are multifold, from financial insecurity and healthcare disparities to social isolation and discrimination. They confront a myriad of obstacles that can significantly impact their quality of life. It is our moral and ethical duty to ensure that they are treated with respect, compassion, and dignity in their twilight years. Protecting the rights of older persons is not merely a legal or policy matter. It is a deeply personal and societal responsibility. It is about recognizing their inherent worth, honoring their contributions, and creating a society that values and respects all stages of life. Let us explore some of the key areas where we must focus on protecting the rights of our elders. First, ensuring access to affordable and quality healthcare services is paramount for the well-being of older persons. This includes preventive care, treatment, and rehabilitation. Promoting the development of specialized geriatric care facilities and training of healthcare professionals to address the unique needs of older adults is also crucial. Second, recognizing and addressing the mental health needs of older persons is essential. Issues such as depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline can significantly impact their quality of life. Third, ensuring that older persons receive adequate pensions and social security benefits to meet their basic needs and maintain a dignified standard of living is essential. Promoting financial literacy and inclusion among older persons to enable them to make informed financial decisions and participate in the economy is also important. Fourth, providing affordable housing options that cater to the specific needs of older persons, including accessibility features, safety measures, and social support services is crucial. Ensuring the quality and affordability of elderly care homes while promoting home-based care as a preferred option for many older persons is also important. Fifth, strengthening and enforcing anti-discrimination laws to protect older persons from age-based discrimination in all aspects of life, including employment, housing, and healthcare is essential. Implementing effective measures to prevent and address elder abuse, both physical and emotional, and ensuring that the perpetrators are held accountable is also crucial. Sixth, promoting integrational programs that foster connections between young and older generations, promoting mutual respect and understanding is essential. Supporting the participation of older persons in community activities and decision-making process is also important. A growing aging population presents both opportunities and challenges for the government and society. Older adults are more likely to suffer from chronic diseases such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and arthritis, which can increase healthcare costs and strain the healthcare system. Additionally, the aging population can have a significant impact on the economy, as older adults may require increased healthcare services and social security benefits. To address the needs of older adults, the Indian government has implemented several initiatives. These initiatives include implementation of the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act, the National Policy on Older Persons, which outlines the government's vision for the welfare of older adults, and the National Old Age Pension Scheme and Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, which provide financial support to older adults. Additionally, the government has launched initiatives to improve healthcare access, promote mental health, and provide affordable housing options for older adults. However, effective implementation remains a key challenge. The NHRC maintains a strong resolve to protect the rights of the elderly, has taken several steps to raise awareness about the same, including issues such as elder abuse, neglect, and discrimination. The Commission has issued guidelines on the rights of older adults, conducted investigations into alleged violations of their rights, and provided recommendations to the government for improving the protection of older adults. The NHRC has constituted a core group on rights of older persons and collaborated with various organizations and stakeholders to promote awareness and advocate for the rights of older adults. By constantly monitoring and addressing human rights violations affecting older adults, the NHRC helps to ensure that they are treated with dignity, respect, and equality. As we strive to build a more inclusive and equitable society, let us remember that our elders are not merely recipients of our care. They are our teachers, our mentors, and our inspiration. By protecting their rights and ensuring their well-being, we are not only fulfilling our moral obligation, but also enriching our own lives and the lives of future generations. Let us commit to creating a world where every older person is treated with dignity, respect, and compassion. A world where their wisdom is cherished, their contributions are celebrated, and their rights are upheld. A world where aging is not seen as a burden, but as a privilege and a blessing. Thank you, and looking forward to an insightful discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your impactful keynote address. Your wise words and leadership inspire us to work toward a more dignified future for our elderly. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we conclude our inaugural session and proceed towards the discussions of the first theme, titled Addressing the Issue of Aging of the Aged. For kind information, the first session will be chaired by Shri Amit Yadav, Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Sir, if you may kindly please remain seated on the dais for moderating the first session. Shri Amit Yadav has been pivotal in shaping policies for social justice and empowerment of vulnerable communities across India. He has worked towards ensuring the inclusion and dignity of marginalized groups, and today he will lead us through this important session on the challenges of aging. We look forward to the discussions of the session. May I now please invite the distinguished speakers of this session, Srimati Chaya Sharma, Dr. Sudha Goyal, Dr. O.P. Sharma, Dr. Mala Kapoor Shankar Das, Ms. Anupama Datta, to kindly proceed to the dais. I'd also like to inform everyone that Dr. T.V. Shekhar will be joining us online.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I acknowledge the presence of the acting chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, Madam Vijaya Bharti Sayani, Shri Bharatlal, the chairperson, the DG, Mr. Ajay Bhatnagar, the DG Investigation, and the distinguished panelist for this session on the overall session on the National Conference on Rights of Older Person, but this specific technical session on the aging of the aged. So I welcome all of you and the distinguished guests and participants for this today's national conference. I thank the National Human Rights Commission for organizing this conference on this very topical issue, which has been engaging the government and the policymakers for quite some time. And as has been pointed out, over the years, it's becoming much more important that when we have a large population of the country, more than 10-12% now, and ever increasing with the longevity and the better quality of life and health facilities being available, that the people who are in the what we call as senior citizen or older persons beyond 60 years increasing over the period of time. Let me come with the background. India is the signatory party to the Vienna International Plan of Action on Aging in 1982, and the United Nations Principles for Older Persons 1991. They all have advocated for legislative and policy measures to protect older individuals, including the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, which was published in 2002 and enhanced their well-being. Now, what happened after this? We were signatories in 1982 and so on and so forth. Thereafter, from that period of time, the government in 1999 came up with the policy, and subsequently in 2007 came out with the Maintenance Act, Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act in 2007. And this has been the continuous work, but we also need to see at the background of what was happening right from when the Constitution came into the existence. The Constitution provided, there are certain provisions in the Constitution as fundamental rights and also as fundamental duties, which gave us the foresight of our Constitution makers that even at that point of time, that was something which was enshrined. Some of the fundamental rights are the general fundamental rights of right to life, right to dignity, and so on and so forth, Article 14, 16, 19, 21. And then the fundamental duties under Article 41, 43. Those inherently give us the mandate on what we are continuously striving to do in our country. We also need to acknowledge and appreciate that it's a large number, but at the same time, this large number does not constitute what we would call as a big lobby group on getting work done. So largely, such kind of national human rights, the department, are the bodies through which we take up issues. We have this policy, and this policy has evolved over a period of time. 1999 it came up. Now we are almost at a stage where probably in the next couple of months, a new policy would replace the existing policy on the national policy on older persons. The new policy, if I may, what would we call revealing what has been proposed in the new policy, is that we are looking at various aspects, whether it's income security in old age, whether it's healthcare and nutrition, whether it's safety and security, whether it's shelter, whether it's productive aging, whether it's welfare. All of these aspects are pointers in the policy in the direction where we have to work. At the same time, what has happened is Dr. Paul will be in the third technical session, and Dr. Paul, a committee by the government has been set up specifically on this aspect, on how do we address the challenges. It's not only about healthcare. Health is a big part of it. And we all know and appreciate that with the health, with aging, health challenges do come in. And with the advances in the medical science and technology, large part of it gets addressed, but at the same time, there are challenges on the cost and the availability. And that also is getting addressed by the hospitals, the government hospitals, and so on and so forth, and the private sector addressing it. So that is a continuous work on the health part. But there are other aspects which are also important. The welfare part of it, living with dignity, the aspect of law and order, which was pointed out in the opening address, and the more and more challenges are coming on that side. We have some of the police officers also in the panel and sitting here. And I think so that is one part which we need to ensure that some of the beat system exists where the beat constable visits the senior citizens within that beat area to just check on the welfare. I think so that is something which we should do it as a national policy across the country, which will ensure that the challenges the senior citizens, the old age persons face on their security, especially when with the changes in our social structure. From a joint family, we're moving to a nuclear family. Large population lives in the nuclear family. Large population is living in urban areas. This aspect has become very, very important in this whole approach and how we'll address in the coming years. The Act itself also, the existing Act, which is of 2007, is undergoing change. And hopefully, I think so, again, probably in the next couple of months, we would be having certain amendments to the Act. And those amendments to the Act are to bring it in line with the developments which have taken place over the period of time. So whether the Act itself is, as I said, it's maintenance and welfare, the key two words. And then it talks about parents and senior citizens. Parents, by definition, would be any parent. It need not be someone who is a senior citizen. And then the parents are getting certain rights under this Act with the widening of the definition itself, so that the safety and security aspects are addressed. And the most fundamental thing is living with dignity, and I think so that's a very, very important component, that anyone who is a part of our society is living and has a respectful life. It's not a neglected life, it's not uncared life, it's not the part of society where no one is being treated in the manner it's expected for anyone. So that is one part of it. Then what happens is, out of love and affection, and which we know in our culture and in our society as we have evolved, most of the time the parents, even during their lifetime, transfer their property to their children. And then more and more cases are coming, whether through police force, National Human Rights Commission, Madam also talked about it, the challenges which are coming, the cases which come in. Then after that, the parents are abandoned, left over, and so on and so forth. So that is one aspect which we need to, the existing Act already addresses, but we are strengthening that part of it. So that even if they have transferred the property, if they are not being taken care by the children, those are restored back. Within this aspect is also the aspect of how do we strengthen the district hospital, district hospices, especially for chronically ill geriatric parents. That will be also part of the new Act. Obviously, it goes through the cabinet approval and then the final legislature approval. But this is what we are proposing. Making the tribunal, which is the fast-track tribunal which works on it, also strengthening it, and you need not go to the tribunal and you need not go through a representation of, there's no lawyers allowed there in the existing Act, but we are saying that if the senior citizen requires a lawyer, that provision will be added to it. Similarly, the provision of video conferencing, if you can't move and if you can't go, is also part of the thing. We also now need to look at it beyond the Act and the policies, and I think so that is the most important thing. And outreach and awareness is a big part of it. For that, what we have done is we have recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the NALSA. NALSA, with its state level agencies and the district level agencies and the taluka level agencies, has a huge reach. We are teaming up with them to make persons aware of their rights, and making that is also a very important part, because other than the law security aspect of it, is making persons aware of their rights, and what is the government doing is also a very important component. The other 2-3 aspects which are bothering us is, one is life expectancy, we see, is more for women vis-a-vis men. And that means that there are more widows beyond the age of 60 than there are compared to men. And that also leads to a challenge, especially because when we know that their property rights of women are, property ownership of women in this country is less than 10%. Properties are owned by men. And so that is another challenge because the husband has died and so on and so forth. That aspect also is there, and especially if the children are not taking care of them and so on and so forth. So the act needs to be strengthened. That aspect has to be there. The other is medical facilities availability is largely in urban areas. We have a significant population in rural areas, though the population dynamics and urban-rural changes are happening. How do we ensure that delivery of healthcare services in the rural areas happen is something also which is of a big challenge. And I think so very clearly, as I see in the panel also, it's the role of the state, the central government and the state government is one part of it. You can enable it, you can provide policy, you can provide laws, but at the same time, what are we doing on the outreach? What are we bringing in values? And I think so that is a significant aspect, क्योंकि मेरे हिसाब से संस्कार जो हमारी संस्कृति है और जो संवेदनशीलता है, ये तीनों चीज़ों पे how do we involve our children, how do we involve our college-going students, how do we ensure that intergenerational bonding is there. Our society, the way it is evolved, is totally different from other parts of the world, and therefore it's very important that we keep on that continuum of the intergenerational bonding. It's not that like we see empty nest, we see all these kind of things, but at the same time, these are large number of people with aged who have the life experiences. So that part is something there. We need to increase the confidence and the dignity of the senior citizens as we move on, and that should be a part of it. And therefore, it's government does this much. The government will continue to keep on expanding, but at the same time, there is a larger societal involvement which is required. There is a larger involvement of the various groups, voluntary organization, NGOs, or whatever name they have to be part of it. And then the private sector has to be part of it. As part of, just to put it in perspective, as part of this scheme, a mention was made in the opening address by the Joint Secretary. We have certain schemes, but it's just, I would say it's just a drop. The population is this much, the funds are this much. So we provide assistive devices, we support in opening up of senior citizen homes, we support in courses for geriatric care, we support in training and capacity building, we support states to the state action plans for the older person. But we've also now looked at it, as we know that a lot of senior citizens homes are coming, though as a policy we promote that it should be aging within the society, within the community where you live, and within the areas. That's the best place to grow old. But if people are moving to senior citizen homes and all, then we need to have minimum standards. We have come out with minimum standards on the old age homes which should be there, so that the persons who are living there are occupying. And I think so the greater message, which is part of policy also and otherwise, is building relationship between the young and the old, and ensuring that they have a joy of living, and provide whatever are the state and institutional support to ensure that they live with dignity, they live with all of what is expected of such a large population, and with all the experience. And 60, in the government setup, 60 is the age when you cut, and then you say, okay, beyond 60 is you are a pensioner or you are superannuated and so on and so forth. But there is a lot of talent, lot of experience, lot of wisdom. And a lot of spirit to do something. So how does one get in the senior citizen, the old age person, or whatever name we call it? How do we get involved them in ensuring that they have a productive life? How they can their contribution, continue with their passion. If they have a passion on certain areas, they want to do voluntary services, and also places where the senior citizens can come and spend times during the day, interact, and so on and so forth, is also part of something which the government does this much, but there's a lot to be done within the society, within the communities, through the private sector, is something which is there. Obviously, aging is a natural, inevitable part of life, and it is a reflection of our society's values, how we treat our elders. And I think the sanskar and sanskriti and samvedanshilta, as I said, are something which is very important. We must ensure that aging is not seen as a period of decline, but a time of continued contribution, connection, and respect. Let us work together to build a future where every senior citizen can live with dignity, surrounded by care, love, and respect. Thank you for all of you participating here and the commitment of the cause, which obviously this department, working with all of you across police forces, across segments of society, and the various communities, to ensure that the rights and dignity of our elders are addressed, and together we can ensure that the aging of the aged is with dignity and with love, care, and compassion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your deep insights. With the permission of the gathering, we can now begin the deliberations for the first technical session. Can we please have the first speaker, Srimati Chaya? Thank you so much.
So, respected Chairperson and National Human Rights Commission, respected Secretary General NHRC, respected Secretary Social Welfare Ministry, DG NHRC, the Joint Secretaries of NHRC, esteemed panelists, distinguished guests, and my dear friends, and some of my old colleagues who are over here from NHRC. A very good afternoon to all of you. Today, I feel very privileged to represent Delhi Police here and participate in this discussion on aging of the aged as the topic given to us. Due to a lot of these improvements in healthcare and consequently the lifespan, the population of the senior citizens have shown a very steep rise, and the figures as given by our JS Nim Saab very alarming in the sense that we have to now start focusing, if not now then when, start focusing on the issues of elderly care, and protection is becoming increasingly significant, which actually poses a unique set of challenges, which our Secretary Sir was highlighting. So at the outset, I'm again extremely grateful to NHRC for organizing this conference and for bringing us face to face with issues which are related to the aged, who are not only a vital and a vulnerable part of our communities, but those who need to be safeguarded and honored. I'm confident that by the end of this conference, NHRC shall be able to mind all our diverse perspectives and help foster solutions on this important issue. It is very essential to emphasize that elderly are entitled to the same fundamental human rights as any other group in the society. Now, ensuring that these rights are upheld and protected is a moral responsibility that falls upon all of us. Senior citizens, given their unique vulnerabilities, they require special attention, and like Sir was saying, we need to ensure their dignity, security, and access to justice during the entire process. So let me just, while I'm thanking NHRC, let me just remind all of you that 1st October is considered as is celebrated every year as the International Day of the Older Persons. And this year, 2024, the theme was Aging with Dignity, Importance of Strengthening Care and Support Systems for Older Persons Worldwide. So I feel that it's high time that, in India we start taking this very seriously. Though a lot of initiatives that Delhi Police is doing is in tandem with the theme of this year's International Day for Older Persons. So I would just like to point out that there are 3-4 challenges which are faced by our senior citizens, especially those who are living alone, and they often find themselves becoming targets of various types of crime. So as law enforcement agency, we have identified some very critical challenges, and I'd like to mention them. First is, like a lot of speakers before me have mentioned, social isolation and emotional vulnerability. This not only affects their emotional well-being, but also makes them more vulnerable to crimes such as theft, fraud, even physical abuse. Criminals often target this group to exploit their loneliness, and reduce the capacity to defend themselves also makes them a perfect target. Elder abuse, whether physical, emotional, financial abuse, this is a very serious issue that many senior citizens face. Sadly, it's a very underreported crime. We do not get many complaints where the senior citizens coming to us do not tell us anything about how this abuse is happening. And basically the reasons are because maybe they fear, lack of awareness, and also dependency on the abuser. उनको लगता है कि जिन पर हम निर्भर हैं, अगर वही हमारे साथ बदतमीजी कर रहे हैं, या हमें पीट रहे हैं, या हमें खाना नहीं दे रहे, या sufficient funds नहीं दे रहे, तो हम कैसे उनके बारे में कुछ कहें? बिकॉज अगर हम कंप्लेन करेंगे तो शायद जो थोड़ी बहुत डिपेंडेंसी है वो भी खत्म हो जाएगी, और हमारा कौन ध्यान रखेगा? Similar examples like other plugin fraud and financial exploitation. अब इतना digital transaction हो गया है शुरू, so we have these elderly citizens which are usually a little, I would say, digitally challenged, cyber challenged, and these online scams, phishing, the Jamtara kind of frauds, financial exploitation. आपके बैंक से एक ऐप डाउनलोड करते ही या कुछ क्लिक करते ही the whole thing gets your money gets transferred. So these kind of exploitations happen, and senior citizens are particularly targeted because they are believing, they're lonely, they are cyber challenged, and they also feel that they are it is easy to make a fool of them. So this is a perfect target for the new cyber crimes which are growing up, and sadly, the older generation is very susceptible, which we need to now take care of them. Physical safety is, like everybody knows, is a big issue, and especially like snatching, burglary, and if they can be mugged, these kind of physical crimes actually are more targeted towards people who have a less physical strength or slower reflexes, and then especially in areas where crimes are higher and a large number of elderly citizens also stay. So if these two things are coupled, then we have to be extra careful. So at Delhi Police, I would like to share with all of you that we have implemented a large number of measures to address these challenges. When creating a senior citizen cell in every police station, every district, there is a senior citizen cell, and even at the police headquarters, we have a senior citizen cell. So this helps to promote awareness, and not only awareness about the elder abuse, fraud, and but also engaging the community. So in most of our community policing initiatives, we try to involve the focus on elderly, the young and the old joining hands. Maybe we have a summer vacation schools. We request the schools in the local neighborhood to adopt citizens. So those things keep happening at a local level. We also involve the RWAs and the market welfare associations so that they involve them in cultural programs, make sure that there are regular health checkups being planned. Then, however, tackling of these issues requires a continuous and an evolving approach. And I just want to share with you that very recently on the 1st of October 2024, the Delhi police has released an app. It's called the Kutumb app. Now, the Kutumb app I would like to share is an app where we try to collect empirical data on senior citizens. And so we have 65,000 registered senior citizens with us. And all these senior citizens are available on the app. And a pilot project was carried out where 2 districts, Shahadra first and then later in Southwest, the test was conducted. And it was found out that the pilot project was a success. 12,000 senior citizens were visited. And so what does this app do basically? So you already know that Delhi police does visit, like Sir was saying, the senior citizens and does a security audit, sees whether how mobile or immobile they are, how physically challenged they are, what are their living arrangements, what is the social support they have, how many times their children contact them or their relatives come in touch with them, how often does the RWA or their neighbor come to their rescue. So all these issues are taken care of. And the area is also, the general area where they are staying is also assessed. Now, so for example, a senior citizen who's living alone may be having physical limitations and will have more frequent welfare checks. So there is a vulnerability score which is given. So so there are these 10-15 markers on which we give the vulnerability score, and depending on which marker has gone up or down, like suppose they were in an unsafe situation earlier and now they have a safety latch or they have done their one stick, the score will go down. So accordingly the scoring has happened. And then the good part is that there were times that as DCPs or as joint CPs, we wouldn't know, we will tell our staff to go. But how do I know whether the staff has actually gone and visited the senior citizen or not? So to make sure this happens, this app has a geo-tagging facility. So, and it will only work with whether the person is at least within 100 meters of the senior citizen's house. So when he visits for the first time, he will be geo-tagged. And then when the subsequent visits, if he is within 100 meters and stays for a substantial amount of time, will the second tick be given that he is actually visited. So those kind of checks are there. And also there is a dashboard on which senior officers can now see that this is my beat constable, he has 10 senior citizens to take care of, how many times he's visited each. If a particular senior citizen has a higher vulnerability score, the visits should be more frequent than others. So something like that we have developed. And up till now it has been successful in 2 districts. So on the 1st of October, the Honorable LG has released it, and we have 15 districts, and we have made sure that all the 15 districts will now be using it. So we'll try to cover all the 65,000 senior citizens who are registered with us with this. Sir, the idea is basically not just visiting them, but making sure that they are safe, that their security audit is done, and also if sometimes you find that sometimes the health is deteriorating, so that can also be checked, and that kind of tie-up also we have done. Another facility that we have been giving them is that when we have these PCRs, so whenever anybody has a medical emergency, so we have instructed to them that they can call the 112 or the senior citizen helpline and just blindly call. They can also give their suggestions if they just don't want to complain or anything. But suppose they're in a medical emergency and they don't know who will take them to the nearest hospital or to the hospital or the doctor whose number they already have. So they can call the PCR, and the PCRs have been in many occasions taking these senior citizens to the nearest hospital or to the hospital of their choice. So this facility is also being made available. So we also have these feedback mechanisms where there is a constant interaction. So the DCP maybe in 2-3 months will interact with a select group of senior citizens. At the police headquarters, I am, as a special CP, who is looking after SPUVAC, which is a special police unit for women and children, but also responsible for this particular vulnerable section, takes at least in a year 2 times I can take. And if any particular thing happens and some senior citizen want to contact, we also go and we also allow them to meet us. So those meetings where every senior citizen is representing his district, it's a very important kind of a thing. They will come, they will say their problems, and we also do our course corrections. Sometimes what we are doing is irritating them or is not comfortable with them, so they can come back and tell us. So this continuous course correction and evolving also happens. This, so I mentioned about leveraging partnerships, and I must say that NHRC should take the lead and ensure that the collaboration that we all already do at our local levels is enhanced, and that maybe more NGOs and more such organizations who are working with senior citizens get in touch with us, and we can deliver a much better and a more collaborative effort can be made where their lives can be made much easier. So what happens is that police 100% cannot give all their attention to senior citizens, but whatever attention they are giving, if an NGO partners, like we've already been having some NGOs partnering with us, we have healthcare providers in certain organizations. So what they will do is they will organize a health camp. They will make sure that they are regularly visited. The RWAs and MWAs also cooperate. So we are doing all these things, and then sometimes we are involving the senior citizens in other programs which the DCP is organizing. So these are just for physical safety, emotional and psychological well-being, and also their general medical take care. But having said that, this part is just one part. I still feel that if we get a good NGO, more concerted effort, then we can do much better. And so once we cover our 65,000 people, the data which we are having available can also be used for geriatric care, can also be used for policy making decisions, because what these you may say that 65,000 is not the total number of senior citizens we have in Delhi, but who are we targeting? We are targeting those who are actually staying alone, who are actually vulnerable. And like sir was mentioning that there are more women who outlive, which is a fact. And so their vulnerability is a much higher score, because now they're alone and they are more vulnerable, and anything else can also happen to them. So those kind of things we ensure that collaboration will help in addressing not just physical safety, but also the emotional and psychological well-being. So also this issue about feeling of being abandoned, helplessness, more often than not, we find that the senior citizens get attached to the beat constable, start calling them beta, and they will make them write letters, deliver, get their phone bills and electricity bills delivered. So we are open to that. However, we definitely want that some other collaborators must also come, so that their feeling of isolation reduces. There should be people able to talk and to keep them engaged, and make sure that they have a own community, which there is a similar people are having partnerships. So Delhi Police community policing initiatives keep trying to foster such relationships, trying to build bridges between senior citizens with common interest, neighborhoods, creating an environment where elderly people feel safe, included, and valued. So, but our effort is more empirical, data-driven, and we are also trying to equip ourselves to understand the specific needs of senior citizens and to take very informed and strategic action. Suppose there is an area where the crime is more and the number of senior citizens are also more or less. So the number of beat patrols, how PCR will function there, how many people, which gate can be closed, how many people who are vendors can be allowed there, and are these vendors verified by the local RWA? So those kind of things can be what we are doing at our level. The road ahead requires a sustained commitment, innovation, and collaboration to ensure that senior citizens in India can live with dignity, safety, and respect. And by strengthening the stakeholder partnerships through NHRC helping us and embracing technology and advocating for policy changes with the help of Yadav sir, I think we can evolve, into a community involvement where we can create a society where elderly are not just left alone, but are also valued and supported. So finally at Delhi Police, we to advance these efforts, and working towards a future where every registered senior citizen feels safe and cared for and empowered. So I once again thank NHRC for giving me this opportunity and representing Delhi Police to share our thoughts on all the initiatives that we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chaya Sharma. I think so. You wonderfully put in the role of community policing, the Kutum map, the vulnerability score, the security audit, the medical emergency challenges which can be addressed by police, the collaboration which is required, and the data. And I think so that's something which we need to take over across the country. There are places, states which it is being done, but I think so that's something which needs to be taken across. And as you've said, rightly said, with regard to technology, how we can enhance with the technology, the data, and how that can be better used for a better service to the citizens and especially the senior citizens. May I now invite Dr. O.P. Sharma, and may I request you, sir, that you please speak from here only. You don't need to go to the podium. You can say, while sitting, you can speak, address it.
I would love to stand.
Okay. And the other request is...
लेकिन सर इलेक्शन में नहीं खड़ा हूँगा, पोडियम पे खड़ा हूँ.
No, other request is we are stick to time. We have a 10-minute slot, so please stick to time. Thank you so much.
सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और मैं 10 मिनट से अधिक समय नहीं लूँगा. Respected dignitaries of the dais, friends. सबसे पहले मैं बता दूं मैं भी भारतीय हूं और भारत के इस लाल भारत की तारीफ करना चाहूँगा जिसने आज ये कहा कि सीनियर सिटीजन्स आर नॉट लायबिलिटीज, दे आर एसेट्स एंड देयर एसेट्स कैन बी यूटिलाइज्ड. आई वुड लाइक टू क्लैप एवरीबॉडी फॉर दैट. यदि हम ये देखें कि भारत की आबादी और देशों की तरह से वृद्धों की आबादी कैसे बढ़ी, वन ऑफ द रीजंस इज वैक्सीनेशन. एडवर्ड जेनर ने जब स्मॉल पॉक्स का वैक्सीन निकाला, स्मॉल पॉक्स धीरे धीरे करते सारी दुनिया से खत्म हो गया. आई डोंट थिंक इवन एज ए सीनियर कंसल्टेंट इन मेडिसिन आई हैव नॉट सीन एनी पेशेंट ऑफ स्मॉल पॉक्स इन लास्ट मेनी डिकेड्स. सेम थिंग इज अबाउट पोलियो. पोलियो भी जो खत्म हुआ वैक्सीन से खत्म हुआ. मेरी आपसे गुजारिश है यादव साहब कि सीनियर सिटीजन्स को, आई एम द फर्स्ट इन द कंट्री to bring out the Indian guidelines for vaccination in older people. Way back in 2008, and my request will be to offer free vaccination to elder people after certain age. That will be very kind of you. बुजुर्गों के अंदर, I think it was pointed out by one of the learned speakers that the comorbidities are more. उनमें उम्र के साथ साथ डायबिटीज, ब्लड प्रेशर, हार्ट अटैक, किडनी अटैक, ऑस्टियोआर्थराइटिस, कॉन्स्टिपेशन, ये सब होते रहते हैं. इन सब चीज़ों की वजह से जो उनकी सेहत खराब होती है, चलना फिरना कम हो जाता है, मोबिलिटी कम हो जाती है. इस मोबिलिटी कम होने की वजह से जब वो घर के अंदर ही रहते हैं, एक जगह टिके रहते हैं, उसकी वजह से उनको इंडोर में इन्फेक्शंस होते रहते हैं. एंड देयर आर सर्टन वैक्सीन्स विच प्रिवेंट देम फ्रॉम सर्टन डिजीज. उन बीमारियों से भी बचाएंगे, मौत से भी बचाएंगे और इन कोमॉर्बिडिटीज़ को आगे बढ़ने से भी बचाएंगे. Those simple vaccines are flu vaccine to be taken once in a year, pneumococcal vaccine again once in a year, Tdap and herpes zoster vaccine doesn't cost much. यदि आप ये देना शुरू करें तो ये बहुत बड़ी मेहरबानी होगी. My second thing, there are only 3 things I am going to talk within 10 minutes. लास्ट का आधा मिनट तो मैं छोड़ दूंगा तालियों के लिए यदि आप बजाएं तो. Second thing is what Madam Chaya ji covered up is elders abuse. बुजुर्गों के बारे में. द एल्डर अब्यूज इज फ्रॉम आउटसाइड एज वेल एज इनसाइड. समाज के जो अनवांटेड एलिमेंट्स होते हैं उनकी वजह से जो मारा पीटी होती है और लूटपाट होती है, प्लस घर के लोग, केयर गिवर्स, बेटा, बहू, दामाद, केयर गिवर, हेल्थ केयर वर्कर, ये सब भी जो उनके साथ मार पिटाई या मिसबिहेव करते हैं, वी कॉल इट एल्डर अब्यूज. दिस एल्डर अब्यूज इज ऑल्सो टू बी प्रिवेंटेड, for which there are certain ways and means. I would love to send you a note on that. Third and the last thing that I want to talk is, Swami Chinmayan ji कहते हैं the basis of everything is finances. सब चीज़ और दुनिया में जो wars होती है because they want to sell their weapons, they want to increase their territory, etc., whatever be the region. Finances का ध्यान रखने के लिए I don't think even 50% of this elite gathering knows that there is a thing like reverse mortgage. रिवर्स मॉर्गेज क्या होती है, आपने जो कुछ कमाया होता है, बाय एंड लार्ज व्हाट्सअप ज्ञान आजकल सबको मिल रहा है, एवरीबडी नोज कि ओनली 30% ऑफ द पीपल यूज द मनी दैट दे हैव अर्न्ड इन देयर लाइफ। क्या करते हैं, बच्चे पैदा किए, उनको पाला पोसा, बड़ा किया, बढ़ा के आगे भेज दिया, बाहर चले गए, शादियां की, घर बनाया, उस समय सब कुछ पैसा खत्म हो जाता है। सो पीपल विद अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर, दैट मीन्स जिनको पेंशन नहीं मिलती है, उनको परेशानी होती है। लेकिन उनके पास जो घर होता है, बच्चों को मालूम है कि बुढ़ा बुढ़ी मर जाएंगे तो ये घर हमें मिलेगा ही मिलेगा और कोई चारा नहीं है। बट इफ दे कम टू नो इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी, देर इज ए कंडीशन, देर इज ए टर्म लाइक रिवर्स मॉर्गेज, यू कैन गो टू द बैंक में आप अपना घर प्लेस कर सकते हैं, उसके अगेंस्ट वो आपकी लाइफ का एक्सपेक्टेंसी का एसेस करके आपको कुछ पैसा दे देंगे जो कि आपको जीने के लिए काफ़ी होगा, रोटी कपड़ा और मकान के लिए काफ़ी हो जाता है, थोड़ी बहुत दवा दारू, सॉरी नॉट दारू, दवा और प्लस घूमना फिरना के लिए काफ़ी हो जाता है। तो ये रिवर्स मॉर्गेज इज अनदर थिंग दैट शुड बी पॉइंटेड आउट। लास्ट बट नॉट द लिस्ट, आई वुड लाइक टू से रिक्वेस्ट यू सर टू कन्वे टू निर्मला सीतारमन जी माई हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट कि जो बुजुर्ग जिनके पास सिवाय सेविंग्स के और कोई इनकम नहीं है और जिन्होंने 30, 35, 40 साल तक इनकम टैक्स दिया है, दे शुड देयर whatever the saving, whether it is pension or saving from whatever the resources, unless it is an active income, it should be exempted from the income tax. मैं भी शायद उस कैटेगरी में आ जाऊंगा, दो आई एम नॉट एन ओल्ड पर्सन, आई एम ओनली 77 प्लस। 8 दिसंबर को मेरा 78th बर्थडे है। जो गिफ्ट भेजना चाहे नेट से opsharma@geriatricindia.com पे देख सकते हैं और भेज सकते हैं। रामचरित मानस में कहा गया है, पर उपदेश करत बहु तेरे, जे आचरित नर न घनेरे। हम लोग से बैठे हुए थे जीरियाट्रिक सोसाइटी जो हम लोगों ने 1982 में शुरू की थी। जब 99 was declared as the International Year of Older Persons, the question came that how different we Indians are, and everybody said we Indians are different from the Indians who are senior citizens from USA and UK. So question हुआ कि there should be some Indian textbook. So 99 में मैंने अपनी जो एकमात्र इनकम थी अपना क्लिनिक, उसके ताला लगाया, घरवाली की परमिशन ली, उसने मेरे को वादा किया कि मेरे को डिवोर्स नहीं देगी। तो देन आई ब्रॉट आउट द फर्स्ट टेक्स्ट बुक इन द कंट्री ऑन जीरियाट्रिक मेडिसिन, विच कवर्स एवरीथिंग, which covers all the health aspects, all the social aspects, nursing aspects, the constitutional and legal aspects of the elderly. पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने चेंज देखा है। एक ज़माना था जबकि गवर्नमेंट के पास जाना पड़ता था, और आज खुशी की बात यह है कि गवर्नमेंट खुद आगे बढ़ के आ रही है, गवर्नमेंट खुद आगे आके हेल्प कर रही है। We were thrilled when with the joint cooperation of Helpage India, we approached the Kerala police, and Kerala policing system we started that somebody visits the senior citizens. मैडम, आपके थाने में लिस्ट होती है कि कौन चोर उचक्का बदमाश है, किसके पास में सरकारी में लाइसेंस रिवॉल्वर है। तो आपके थाने में ये भी लिस्ट हो सकती है कि कौन बुजुर्ग अकेला रह रहा है और कौन बुजुर्ग वल्नरेबल है। इसलिए यदि उसका ख्याल कर लिया जाएगा तो अच्छा रहेगा। With only these few words and the request to Honorable Yadav Saab to kindly provide free vaccine to elderly people, to Madam जी, शक्ति का प्रतीक तो नारी होती है, to provide care to the elderly from the outside injury as well as from illness abuse, and to send the request to Nirmala Sitharaman ji to give income tax exemptions to elderly and the travel concessions which at one time were being given. Thank you so much. आप लोगों में से कोई भी यदि मेरे पास किसी अपने बुजुर्ग के लिए फ्री कंसल्टेशन करना चाहे तो उनका स्वागत है। धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
Thank you, Dr. O.P. Sharma, and I think so you have set the ball rolling for various aspects, for giving us direction on the policy part of it, whether like the government has already done for coverage of Ayushman Bharat for 70 plus, irrespective of the income limit, irrespective of the income, everyone would be covered 70 plus. Last month through the government cabinet decision that has been done. So I think so over the period of time this vaccination may be something which we need to look at it. They would be obviously go through the scrutiny which is required, and I think so you pointed out a very significant aspect, which is how do we address the abuse to the elder within and outside. And I think so that would be a challenge as the society demographics change, so that we will have to continue, keep on working on it. So thank you so much for your very, very entertaining and very, very informative and insight presentation. May I now request Dr. Sudha Goyal, who is the senior consultant with Niti Aayog on the health and family vertical.
Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon and namaskar to the Chair, Shri Amit Yadav, sir, Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, all the senior officials from NHRC, all ministries, my fellow panelists, and all other esteemed professionals, participants, and colleagues who are present today in this workshop. I feel honored to be part of this very distinguished and significant workshop which has been organized by National Human Rights Commission on the care of senior citizens with the subject theme of rights of older persons and the agenda item number 1 of addressing the issue of aging of the aged. So when we talk about the term aging of the aged, this particular term refers to the population of individuals who are 80 years and above, and this group is often considered the oldest old and presents with unique challenges, requirements, which are, as compared to the younger, older people, they are more challenging. So this demographic group probably gets slipped through the holes which are there in the social security networks, and it is therefore our collective responsibility to take care and support this particular group. So this is the agenda item of the first technical sessions. So I'm going to make a presentation which is based on the report which was prepared by Niti Aayog. And we also presented a position paper in the month of February this year on the same subject. Next slide, please. So this is the brief outline, starting with the context, the government initiatives, the present scenario, the challenges, the reforms which have been proposed by Niti Aayog, and lastly, the way forward. Next slide. So with the demographic shift towards aging, we see that the population of aged above 65 is increasing in all the countries and will be rising in future also. 2018 was the crossover year when the population of people in the age group of 65 and above outnumbered the population of children below 5. This was the first year. This was the first time when it outnumbered. And this is going to double in the year 2050 and become 5 times in 2100. So this is the challenge. Next slide, please. Now I'll be showing some of the projections which have been made by UN Projections Prospects 2024, and this shows that the population is rising globally, and by 2100, the global population will become 10.18 billion. And for India, it will be somewhere around 1.51 billion. So this is about 14.8% of the total population of the world in 2100. Now, when we talk about the people in the age group of 65 and above, for the world in 2100, this will become 24%, but for India it will be 25%. And age dependency ratio for India will be 10% higher than the age dependency ratio for the world. So this is the challenge and the context. Next slide. So these are few of the findings from the India Aging Report. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just to highlight because the theme of this particular session is of 80 plus. So this population growth has been 128% during the period 2000 to 2022, and in future, during the period 2022 to 2050, it will become 279%. So this is the enormity of the problem, and there will be a predominance of widowed and highly dependent, very old women. So this is the aspect of feminization. Next slide, please. So a few things about the feminization. We all know that the population of senior females is rising at a faster pace than the population of elderly male. And senior sex ratio has been projected to rise from 972 in the year 2001 to 1078 in the year 2031. And 54% of the females, sir has already spoken about the aspect of widowed amongst the elderly. So 54% of the females would be widowed as compared to 16.5% of the males in the same age group. And for women above the age of 80, this percentage is going to rise. It will become 60%. And all the studies have shown that 20 to 30% of the women above 70 and above, they suffer from Alzheimer's and many aspects of dementia. Next. So all these demographic changes that we have shown today are going to put some impact on the health, social, and economic aspects and make some challenges to which the country must adapt and respond today and in future. A strategic framework, sir has already talked about the committee that we have constituted. So a strategic framework of reforms, including the strengthening of the available and affordable healthcare system, the innovative financing mechanisms, enabling social environments, and uptake and adoption of the digital technology, along with the enablers of intersectoral convergence and partnerships are important. Next. So this is the timeline, the journey that India has traveled from the year 1995 till 2019. There are many policies, acts, schemes. I'm not going to read this. So this is the journey that we have traveled. Next, please. This is the pictorial depiction of all the schemes which have been governed and introduced by ministries, different ministries, for the social and health-related economic welfare of the people in the age group above 60. So these are the schemes which are available for the benefit and the welfare of people. Next. So because the theme today is of aging of the aged, so I would say when we are referring to the aging of the aged, the changes which are related to the physiological, mental, and economy have been very clearly depicted by the LASI findings. So there are challenges related to health, social, economic aspects. There are challenges related to mobility, the mental health, the physical health. All these challenges are there. The data is there, but I think the next presentation by Shekhar sir would be able to tell more about this data. I'm not going to read this. The next one, please. So firstly, let us see the challenges which are there in different sectors. So I'll start with the health sector. There is no comprehensive and integrated package of services. There are many providers, both in the public and private sectors, but they all work in silos. And the practitioners, the allied health professionals, the nursing professionals, some of them, they belong to very low setups, and the quality of care that they provide is suboptimal. So this is one of the main challenges. Then there are gaps in the infrastructure. We all realize that the mismatch between the demand and supply of the health services is always there. And also the fact that 71% of the elderly, they live in rural areas, while most of the healthcare facilities, they are concentrated in the urban setups. So this mismatch is there. And also, since we are talking about 80 plus, the 80 plus people have requirements related to their illnesses which make them bedbound or homebound. So there is less of palliative care, the end of life care, which should be there in the healthcare facilities. So that is lacking. Also, there is paucity of trained caregivers, the geriatricians, the providers who can serve them at home. So all these manpower related challenges are there. Also, the information which should be there related to geriatric care, related to the mental health, related to neurodegenerative diseases, related to their challenges related to their physical, emotional, and psychological needs, this data is deficient. So also there is a lack of knowledge repository. Then we talk about the financial crunches related to elderly, saying that now that since they are retired, so probably they are not economically productive or they are dependent, but the kind of care that they require in that particular age group requires them to spend money. But the kind of financial structure which is there for them in the health setup is also deficient. So the emergency response system, which is not very sensitive to the needs of the elderly, there are less of ambulances, the transportation mechanism is not equipped properly, and also the trauma centers, they are not well equipped or not well resourced. So these are the challenges which are related to health system. Also there are less monitoring mechanisms and insufficient focus on the preventive health. Sir was talking about preventive health also. So there is no structured and regular screening programs or for the elderly. Also, the care that the elderly need while they are bedbound related to their hygiene, the bathing, the foot care, the dental care. So there is no structured mechanism for providing all these services. Next slide. These are the challenges which are related to the social sector. So the social sector is, the schemes are fragmented or properly, the people are not aware of those schemes. There is gap in the knowledge and the practices which is related to social sector. And also the change from the joint family system to the nuclear family system also poses the physical, social, economical challenges in this particular age group. There are inequalities related to religion, region, then socio-economic status, and gender also. So all these challenges are related to the social sector. Also, we are not providing the kind of acknowledgement that we should be providing to the caregivers. They are underpaid, undervalued, and or not recognized or under-recognized. Next. The economic challenges, I think probably my earlier speakers have pointed out about the economic challenges. The financial systems are not proper. There is insufficient funds, insufficient schemes. So all these challenges are related to the economic aspects. And also, as Madam has pointed out, there are always the danger of, we are hearing a lot of news about the financial abuse and fraud practices being done right now for the seniors. So these challenges are there in the economic sector. Next. The digital one, yes, we have challenges because there is digital illiteracy. They're not sufficiently trained, or the accessibility and affordability to the digital goods is not there. So these challenges are related to the health, economic, social, and digital areas. So now I'm going to show some of the proposed reforms in these sectors, and the term has been given as health empowerment and inclusions, the social empowerment and inclusions, economic empowerment inclusions, digital empowerment inclusions, along with the enablers of fostering the intersectoral convergence and private sector engagements, and also by increasing the CSR funding. Next. So these are the various schemes, various measures that should be taken in the health sector. So first, I think since we don't have any comprehensive and integrated program for the health sector, so we need to increase the number of health facilities which are going to provide the services which are dedicated to the senior care. And these should be located in the rural areas rather than being concentrated in the urban areas. Then we should have independent geriatric wards in the tertiary care hospitals. And also we can leverage the services of Ayush. So this is one of the strategy or reforms that we can propose for the health sector. We should be increasing the accessibility of workers. They should be made to go and provide the services at home. The community-based organizations are there, NGOs are there. They can also support this particular endeavor. And the skilled workforce, how we can do it? By increasing the number, by increasing the deployment, and by training them or providing them the skills to take care of the elderly in the way they need. So we need to increase the number of geriatric doctors, nurses, and also the attendants. So also the services which are provided by Ayush professionals, they have to be recognized and should be taken into consideration. And also we should be focusing more on the preventive health. A structured program for screening for the chronic ailments, that should be there in the system. Elderly immunization, Sir has said, definitely adult immunization related to influenza, pneumococcal, pneumonia and all, this should be a part of the universal immunization program. And also we should be talking about building the trust in the system for the elderly. So teleconsultation is one of the areas which has been included in the mental health program. We have Telemanas, but that should be a part of the elderly care also, and we should be providing the services through teleconsultation, especially for the homebound and bedbound elderly. Next, please. Again, we should be increasing the finances in the health system, increasing the health literacy. What are the challenges? What are the diseases? What are the chronic ailments which are there in the elderly age group? This kind of an literacy and also the awareness related to the provision of services. The services are there at Ayushman, Arogya Mandir, PHC, CHC. This kind of a health literacy is required at all levels. We should be making the emergency response system very sensitive to the needs of the elderly. Also, the provision of assistive devices. I think there is a program. So we should be encouraging the states to implement these programs in a better way. Then mental health issues of the caregivers and also of the elderly should be taken care of. And Poshan Abhiyan, because the nutritional aspects of the elderly are mostly overlooked or we don't care about them. So this Poshan Abhiyan, which is there for children, should also be included for elderly, is one of the proposition. Social empowerment, yes, we need to increase the awareness. We need to make legal reforms. There are things in the pipeline for increasing or making some amendments in the Act. So this should be encouraged. We should have some research and development on the various aspects of care that they need. Also, we need to have the family structure, instead of going to the old age homes, the elderly should be aging at home in their own home environment. So we should be developing some elderly care models, which the support of the NGOs has also been proposed. Next, please. Economic empowerment and inclusions. Yes, we need to develop the insurance products with the help of the private sector. Private sector should participate in developing the comprehensive health insurance product, promote the prevention of financial frauds. Ma'am has very nicely told us about the Delhi model. So probably this kind of model is there in other states also, but universally such kinds of models should be there, is one of the proposition. The coverage of the public funds, and lastly, the financial literacy and digitalization, because most of the frauds are through digital means. So we should be empowering our seniors on how to use the digital technology for financial procedures. So digital empowerment and inclusion will include the literacy, the accessibility, the power to buy things and have a trust in those services is required. We need to have digital literacy all over. Next, please. So there are many ministries, many programs, but there is probably a less of coordination between the ministries. So we need to have a seamless coordination with all the ministries, with the Panchayati Raj institutions, with the urban local bodies, and all the private players, so that the services are provided in a holistic manner to the seniors. Next, please. So private sector engagement, increasing the CSR funding, making private insurance packages with revised rates, and affordability of the critical products which are required for the elderly health or other aspects of elderly care are required. Next, please. So this is the last slide showing that we have to have enhanced healthcare services, strengthened social support, economic security, digital inclusions, and initiatives which will aim to create a supportive environment. The aging population will have dignity in health and security. That's all. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Sudha Goyal. I think so. In your presentation, you've given us the crystal ball gazing of what is going to happen in the next 40, 50 years and probably till 2100 and where we would be. So I think so that's an indicator of how do we plan and how do we set the agenda now. And you also, thankfully, you've also given the suggested roadmap for the future. And obviously the concerns on health, economic, social and digital which need to be addressed within that roadmap. So thanks for your presentation. Now we'll request Dr. T.V. Shekhar, Professor, Department of Family and Generations, Indian Institute of Population Studies, who's joining us online. Thank you, sir, for joining, and may I request that we are overshooting the time, so keep it within that 10 minutes slotted for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Chairperson. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, please, you are.
And the PowerPoint is visible?
PowerPoint is to come up. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Are you sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sharing it.
Yeah, we will get the power. We have the PowerPoint. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, the chairperson, the fellow panelists, officials from the various departments of the government, distinguished guests, and dear friends. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you within the next 8 to 10 minutes on the health care for elderly as a basic human rights issue. And my presentation is essentially based on the findings we obtained from the longitudinal aging study in India, LASI, which we carried out at IIPS and supported by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. As all of you know, and Dr. Sudha Goyal just mentioned about the aging and health dimensions, you know that considerable chronic and non-communicable disease increasing in India. And unfortunately, we have very little empirical evidence on health conditions, health situations of elderly in our study. Mostly the data is not available. Only few hospitals have compiled it. Otherwise, we don't have a nationally representative evidence on the health status of elderly citizens in our country. Keeping that in mind, we designed the longitudinal aging study in India. This is India's first longitudinal aging study and the largest aging study in the world, where we covered 5 major dimensions. It includes health conditions of elderly, not only the self-reported health, but also the measured health conditions through a set of biomarkers, healthcare and health financing, family, social network, caregiving, elder abuse, many other issues. On economic front, income, wealth, workforce participation, consumption, retirement, various dimensions. And what are the various welfare programs, how far its coverage, and what are the social security measures, how many elderly are getting benefited out of all these schemes. So this survey, which is available now to the public, it is on our website, it's also on the website of Government of India Health Ministry, which will provide you the national estimates and state level estimates for all states and union territories. We have interviewed from the selected households, all the respondents aged 45 and above. Altogether, we have 73,396 individuals aged 45 and above. Out of that, nearly 32,000 of them are elderly persons. And the first wave was carried out in 2017 and 18. Now we are about to launch the second wave of LASI survey with the full financial support from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And by next year end, by 2025, we'll have a finding of all this, because we are going back to the same households and same individuals and see what are the changes happen on their health, their social, economic conditions, and even the living arrangements. Just to highlight some of the major findings of our LASI survey, you know that nearly 35% of the elderly are reported the prevalence of cardiovascular diseases, and the hypertension is highest among them. 32% of elderly have hypertension issues, and for diabetes it is 14%. Okay. And as the age advances, as all of you know, the chronic health conditions also increases, and it will also have implications for healthcare, health financing, and the catastrophic health expenditure to meet the cost of the medical expenditure and other things. As far as the cardiovascular disease is concerned, as I said, nearly 35% of them are suffering that, which includes hypertension, heart disease, stroke, and we found that nearly 50% of elderly residing in urban areas were diagnosed with cardiovascular diseases. It's a big number. And when we come to the self-reported and measured health condition, this is one important information. Nearly 32% of the elderly said they have an hypertension. But when we actually tested for hypertension,
Dr. Shekhar, can I request you something?
Much more than that, nearly 36%.
Dr. Shekhar, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Request is you move your slides, because it's still on your first slide. We are still on your first slide.
So I don't know what is happening.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. We can see now the slides have changed.
Okay, sorry for that. And so we found that there is a considerable gap between the self-reported hypertension and self-measured hypertension. There is a 4-point difference. That means many people in the rural areas, particularly belong to the lowest economic strata, they were not even aware about they have an hypertension. This is the same case with the diabetes also. Our data clearly indicate there is a considerable gap between self-reported and measured health condition, particularly among the elderly. When we come to the treatment, for example, just to take the hypertension, we found that 42% of the elderly who reported they have hypertension, they are adequately treated for hypertension. This is a good information, but at the same time, nearly 36% of them are undertreated, and 1 in 10, around 10% of elderly remain totally untreated. They have hypertension, but they are not taking any medication or treatment. And this percentage is much higher in rural areas compared to the urban areas. So this is one area we may need to focus. And Lassi survey has clearly brought out first time in India the multi-morbid conditions among elderly. Around 32% of the elderly have a single morbid chronic diseases. And when you talk about the multi-morbidity conditions, it is around 24% among the elderly or the 60 plus population. Now, it's also very important to know that in India, nearly a quarter of the elderly, 27% of elderly are underweight, and one-fifth of the elderly, roughly 22% of them are overweight. So we are facing a challenge indicating a dual burden of undernutrition and overnutrition among elderly, both underweight as well as overweight. And this need to be addressed very seriously. Now, generally in our studies on elderly, we have very little idea about the mental health conditions of elderly. And this is the first time a nationally representative survey among the elderly in India coming out to the mental health issues. We found that nearly 8% of elderly in India are suffering from major depression. And that number is approximately, if you take the current population, it will be around 14 million elderly suffering that, and it is going to increase considerably. And another study affiliated with the Lassi DAD study found that the prevalence of dementia among the elderly is around 7%, and nearly 9 million elderly in India are suffering from dementia now. This is an important finding for everybody to take note of that. Now, as all of us know, as age advances, our functional ability reduces. Many of the elderly citizens are not in a position to take care of their basic routine activities like taking a bath, using the toilet, or having a meal, or getting up from the bed. So, Lassi survey found that 14% of elderly reported having 2 or more ADL limitation, activities of daily living, which is the basic routine activities they are not able to carry out. And 37% of the elderly also reported having instrumental activities of daily living. That means they need help of others to go out, buy medicine, go out, or to use the financial transactions, many other things. This all clearly indicate that considerable number of elderly in India will need assistance, support, and full-time care, and to support them and to have a dignified life. This is an important challenge for us. I will request all of you to have a look at the Lassi report, the data by stage-wise, by various social groups, various considerable gender differences. We found that although women live longer than men, but we also found that women live so with increased disease burden and disability. So that is there is a considerable gender dimension in aging, particularly with regard to health. Mental health of the elderly persons. We need more geriatric medicine and geriatric healthcare professionals and affordable and quality healthcare. Keeping in our time limit, let me try to conclude this presentation within a minute. So as you see, In 2018 survey indicated that the health insurance cover among elderly is only 1 out of 5, and or nearly 20% of them are covered by any health insurance scheme. But the recent decision by Government of India, it's a major step. It's a path-breaking announcement that insurance cover for all elderly above 70 years, irrespective of their income status, is going to be a major step and to support a dignified health care and life for the elderly. So all these policies, of course, various governments, various departments and lot of organizations, including voluntary sector, doing lot of effort. All this needs significant resources, coordination and commitment across sectors and stakeholders. And if you are able to invest that resources and time now, that will lead to a healthier, happier, more economically and socially secure older population in future. If you are not able to do that, we know that our generation and the coming generations live more years, the life expectancy is increasing considerably. It may be an extended years of life, or if you are not able to support them and care their health needs, it will be an extended years of suffering and with ill health and disabilities. Thank you very much for your attention, and I request all those who are concerned and working in the field of elderly to look at the LASI data and its policy implications. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. And I think so, you correctly pointed out that this benchmark has already been done with that LASI study in 2017, and now it's getting updated, which will give us the policy direction and the challenges which we need to address once the report comes out in 2025. And I think so, the vulnerabilities are clearly expressed in the communicable, non-communicable and other challenges, women and the health-related underweight, overweight and so on and so forth. I think so those are pointers for policy and pointers for corrective actions to be taken and ensuring that securing the future in a planned manner rather than in a haphazard manner. Thank you so much. Now I invite Dr. Mala Kapoor Shankar Das, sociologist and genealogist, gender and aging, elder abuse and social policies. Thank you.
Respected Chair, honorable members of NHRC, fellow speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Demographically, changing times indicate that as societies are aging, they need to evolve and take into account not just the young, the adults, the older adults, but also the oldest old. It is not just enough to discuss 3 generations living together and understand their relationships and needs, but it is time for us to focus on a 4-age population model. More and more older adults are living healthier lives, but doubts are raised about the oldest old among them. Studies indicate that compression of morbidity in later years is the reality of aging populations, and there is a clear-cut gender dimension to it. Older women are known to have greater socioeconomic and health vulnerabilities, and as older men and women move on in years, frailty becomes more obvious, with criticality of the need for long-term care provisions and urgency in having facilities for end-of-life care too, along with taking care of financial, economic resource gaps. Epidemiological and demographic trends suggest that a change is there, but the question arises, will there be change in caring relationships? Should gender equations as seen in Indian families, where a number of females in the family are taking care responsibilities, change? Do we see a trend of more spouse dependence for care as people get older? upcoming research needs to focus on these dimensions as indications are emerging of familial generations living together, providing care support, and the traditional patterns of intergenerational care, generally being unidirectional, is losing its importance in the current scenario of aging societies, where reciprocal arrangements are becoming the norm. The demand for management of chronic problems, provisions for acute care facilities, developing social and community care will become greater, and criticality of affordability and accessibility to these will be overriding and should be in our plans and programs for the aged. Focus should be on how modern science developments and growing availability of many assistive technological devices can better manage and cope health and social issues to improve quality of life concerns of the aged. Are we ready to plan, organize, and adopt to enabling environments to make better lives for older people? I see great relevance in thinking that for the care of the oldest old, we need to improve measures on informal care provisions, with families and communities being prepared to take on this responsibility in a more intense and organized manner. No doubt, the burden of informal care is tremendous as it goes unseen and unmeasured, but it is the most necessary and essential component of well-being of older persons. Informal care can be an easier option, has a better appeal to care receivers, and pertinently, what is required is that the quality of life of caregivers should not be neglected along with that of the care receivers. Thus, we need to develop caregiver training modules, programs, care skills, respite care provisions, appropriate mechanisms such as parent senior care leave facilities, protection of economic losses from work life for those caring, as care needs of the aged amongst the older becomes a priority. Preparedness in our country for recognizing the potential of informal caregivers is a huge investment from which we cannot shy away. One suggestion is to build the resource of young older people to take care of the oldest old, so that we work on a 4th generation care model instead of 3. Along with this potential is the need to have robust, active, and healthy aging policies so that morbidities are delayed for individuals and care burden does not rise up in the society. This framework can also help people in not having to buy care, or at least delay in getting it, whether from family members or from non-filial categories. My recommendation is for filling the gap in providing more information and raising awareness on care of older populations. If we look around us, we find very little literature, books, media sources on adequate, scientific, practical, evidence-based knowledge on care of older persons from a right-based approach. Social media is there, but this needs to be controlled and regulated by experts on old age issues who can appropriately guide and provide tips on managing old age social and health issues from a holistic approach and a gender perspective. Issues confronting older men and women have certain differences, and their circumstances in managing resources also vary as much as the coping mechanisms. These aspects require greater consideration in policies and planning, programs and facilities for the aged. It is true that demand for the care is not about age in itself. keeping any cutoff age as arbitrary. We must realize that forecasting care needs has less to do with how older people are than with who they are, their social class, sex, ethnic origin, and geographical region has greater relevance, and this fact should not be overlooked. Thus, when we plan for social and health care for older people in our country, we need to give consideration to the diversity and heterogeneity among populations, and that should not be ignored while planning at state levels. Nonetheless, we must take into account future trends in aging, dependency, and care provision in later life. It is worth noting that older people are also creative in their strategies for later life and are not just passive recipients of care. Of particular importance is the contribution that they themselves bring to their own care and also become primary carers for others around them and for family members. The relationship between care services and older people needs a rethinking and has to be developed as a partnership between different aspects of care models. It is crucial that governments think of ways of strengthening and setting in enabling environments which respond proactively to the changing demands of health and social care services that bring increased emphasis on effective care for older people. Along with acute geriatric medicine, which can reduce death and disability by 25% as per certain studies, and improved chronic disease management, I recommend robust planning to ensure that the societal structures such as housing, transport, public and private spaces are made age-friendly. It is significant that very old people's preferences regarding care towards the end of life and attitudes towards dying are given due consideration, and these thoughts are used to inform policy and practices. Top priority should be to ensuring dignity and quality of life of older persons, with looking at factors that impact on frailty of people in later years. What aspects of health and social vulnerabilities impinge more on older age groups requires attention, and there is urgency to develop comprehensive, holistic, integrated health and social care services, facilities that cater to both medical and emotional needs of older persons. Providing digital literacy is also important, and our country needs greater emphasis on personalized care plans, mental stimulation, and social engagements for older persons, creating a safe, environmental, comfortable atmosphere in homes or in assisted living facilities with trained staff who are compassionate and attentive. Elder abuse at family level, at institutional level is growing, and care is being seen as a burden. The aging of the aged requires, more than anything else, a caring society inclusive of family and community support. The key to improving quality of life of the aged is to emphasize on quality of life issues from a right-based approach by involving older people in planning and executing services, facilities from their experiences. Lived experience needs importance and attention. So to conclude, I would like to comment that combining medical, social, and emotional care is the key for the oldest old by adopting strategies on comprehensive health care, emphasis on physical activities, mental stimulations through family and various recreational activities, having provisions for social engagement, reducing loneliness through various means, and making social connections strong by giving them priority. This can be enabled through developing safe living environments, which adds on to providing emotional support to to older persons, and especially the oldest among them. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Mala Kapoor. I think so. Rightly pointed out importance of physical and mental well-being. The suggested 4-generation model which you are saying, and the gap filling on information and raising awareness are something very important. And thanks for giving us the framework on various aspects on the aging part of it. Now I invite Ms. Anupma Datta, Senior Policy Advisor, HelpAge India Foundation. She's the last speaker, and I know it's a time challenge, so I'll request to please be. We are already eating on almost the lunch time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think this is a situation I've faced many times. Like when I'm with an illustrious panel and I'm the last speaker, so I consider this to be a privilege and a challenge, because whatever needs to be said has been said by the authoritative, speakers. So there's nothing much I can add to it. But but I still have a challenge that I have to put my point of view, and when I say my, it's the experience of the organization that I represent here, which works very closely with the elderly people. So what you have heard till now is the bird eye view. I will try and give you the snail's eye view, because that's what we see day in and day out. And I'll be very brief, believe you me. I'll not take more than 5 minutes. So the first thing I would like to say here is that because the topic here is oldest old, so I would like to just very emphatically say that oldest old means that you are the most disadvantaged, you are the most neglected, and you are the most, disposable segment of society. And this is how the families treat elderly people, especially where resources are a crunch. If you are a retired bureaucrat, you are a retired judge, you are a retired police officer, you are a retired banker, you are a privileged person. You can assert your voice, you can tell what you want. But when you are a housewife in a less educated, small town, you are a very different person. You're brought up on different values. And when people who can mistreat you know that you have nowhere to go, they can just go to any length. And that's the challenge the system has, and that's, I think somebody brought it up also, and we see it day in and day out that people don't trust the system. Elderly people don't think that if I call this agency, my challenges will be sorted. This trust is what is most essential if we want people to come out and talk about their challenges, to help us solve, make them happy or whatever it is. Then how is the system responding? Does the system have enough resources? And so when I say resources, I don't mean you have the platform and you have the technological skills. Do you have the soft skills to deal with it? We get calls in our helpline where people just say, I just live alone, I want to talk to somebody. I just want to talk to somebody. I consider that a complete violation of a human right. Forget about any services, forget about getting them to register on a portal for getting medical attention in a public hospital. And when we digitalize, I think that is where we exclude them in the most ruthless fashion. You're just very gently telling them, oh, we have made the system more efficient. It's all online, just go register. Can you imagine the challenge the elderly 60, 80 or 85 years old lady living alone faces when she can only register for a public facility online? Big challenges. These are big challenges. That's why we advocate for architectural changes in systems. When you're talking of vulnerable segments of population, do we really understand what inhibits them from using a system? And that is why co-creation is very important. I see a large section of elderly people sitting in the audience here. And I suggest that, whatever consultations happen, they should be the ones telling us what they need, what is it that's inhibiting, what is it that they like in the system, rather than experts telling us, what should be done. That's very important, because they are the ones, when you go to disability sessions, disabled people are very clear about it. They say nothing for me without me. They say if you want to design a wheelchair for me, please ask me whether it is useful for me or not. So that is very important. So ageism, how do we deal with it? How do we include them into the whole discourse? That's very important. And I think I must compliment the Planning Commission, the Niti Aayog and Sudha and Dr. V.K. Paul, because they have brought out this very wonderful policy paper, which I've seen in after many years. And it talks about something very important, which is called the care system, the long-term care system, which is the urgent need of the oldest old. That is the most important thing that they require day in and day out. And when we do surveys with people, we do an annual survey every year, and we look at various aspects of care. We find that family is heavily challenged, and in family, the women are heavily challenged. Women from all ages, right from younger women who take care of it and get number one position in being the abusers. Nobody tries to understand why they are behaving the way they are behaving. But when we ask them, do you feel challenged by the care burden that you get? They say yes. And they say, nobody in the family is willing to share my care burden. When we ask them, okay, what is it that you do for a parent? We ask a man, we ask a woman. The man says, okay, I take them to the hospital, I pay their medical bills. End of story. When it comes to feeding, when it comes to bathing, when it comes to whatever else, always the woman. And nobody shares that burden. And she says, in some cases, when we do qualitative service, they say that other women in the family also don't share my burden. If it's on me, it's on me. So how are we reimagining the care systems, especially for the oldest old, when we know that this is the fastest growing segment of the population? How are we going to look at those challenges? And we are talking of 22,100. And there, like Sudha said, that you will not have children. You will not have younger people to do the work for you. So are you making them, are you going to depend on technology? Are you going to depend on robotics? I don't know. But should we start preparing for all that right now? So architecture of the system has to change, and architecture of the system has to be sensitive to the challenges of the segment that we are talking about. That's why outreach is very important. We do have NPHC, we do have other sorts of health systems. But how useful are these systems to somebody who can't get into a public bus and reach the stationary center, and cannot also do telemedicine because they do not have the devices. So I just told us they don't have the devices. So when we are reimagining our systems, I suggest that we look at the last mile challenges in real life. And that's if we really want lasting solutions. If we want to just we can talk about it and we can have fancy solutions, we can have fancy discussion. Another very important thing that I think needs to be discussed very carefully is what is the role of market in the whole care system. Today we find a lot of agencies in the market selling us the home care systems and home care products and home care services. Two very important aspects. Who will regulate these systems? Will these systems be regulated? And we are saying caregivers, professional caregivers in homes. Now, when you have a professional caregiver at home, you're introducing a stranger into a home situation. Now, how will you regulate his behavior? Will the police check on them? Will the neighbors check on them? Will the community check on them? It's very important. So unless you do these granular things, unless you do these real things, and unless we really put our heads together, community, I keep hearing this thing about community, setups. How are we going to do the community setups? We did some experiments here and there, but India is a very large country and India has very diverse cultural systems. Not everybody is a fisher's community, not everybody, a village in North India would be very different from a village in Tamil Nadu, coastal Tamil Nadu. Palliative care, very important. We did experiments in parts of Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, where we trained community caregivers in villages to give palliative care. Right to life is one thing. Right to die with dignity is also another. For the elderly people, the oldest old. So when we do systems, we should also look at end of life care and also how we will tackle those situations. The professor just told us that there are multi-morbidities, and some of them even have 3 or 4 morbidities. So there the care challenges are much higher. And when we ask people in the middle, what is called the missing middle, the missing middle in the smaller towns, they really said that we have both physical and financial challenges of handling care for the oldest old. And we cannot handle it because they themselves are reaching that age of 60, 62, 63, when a father or a mother is 85, 87. So you have an elderly person taking care of another elderly person. So how will you, these are not young caregivers, these are older caregivers. And we have people who are looking, like we have Shailesh here in the audience who has a facility for dementia patients. Please ask him over tea or dinner or a lunch, how he's managing that facility for the dementia patients. And of course, there is this whole issue about health insurance. Just a couple of days back, I was talking to some older person. He said, I lost my job. I was working in a small company, lost my job at the age of 63. Now I get EPF pension of 743 rupees. When I want health insurance of 4 lakh rupees, it costs me 30,000 rupees per annum. How do I pay 30,000 rupees with the salary of or a pension of 743 rupees? Big challenge. So these are some of the issues that I think needs further discussion, a much wider discussion. And unless that's my view, because like I said, I come from an organization that works very closely with the elderly people. Unless we work closely with them, unless we really see where the challenge lies, I don't think we will have systems that will really provide the real solutions. So violations will continue to happen. And so sorry if I made this atmosphere gloomy, but that's how the reality is. And I hope that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Anupma Datta. And I think so we raised a couple of very interesting issues. One is the vulnerability of aged who are resource poor. And then that's a big thing. How do you address that? The other is digitalization also is leading to exclusion, especially among the elderly. And the other issues of any decision making has to be inclusive, and inclusive means in the right earnest with taking the feedback from the persons to whom the policy or the laws are directed. And I think so a lot of challenges, a lot of work needs to be done there. And obviously any consultation, any work has to be inclusive and include all stakeholders. And I think so that we'll keep in mind. Thank you so much. I think so with this we come to the end of the session. As per the program, there is a question and answer session. I'll leave it to, because of the challenge of time and all, I'll leave it probably to be done at the end or all three technical sessions. And I think so on behalf of NHRC, I invite everyone for the lunch. Thank you. Thank you, the speakers. Sorry? A moment to, they're giving a moment.
Can I please request all members of the audience to please be seated for the next 2 seconds. We would humbly request Srimati Anita Sinha ma'am, NHRC Joint Secretary, to kindly offer a token of our appreciation, a memento for our distinguished chair and respected panelists. Shri Amit Yadav sir, Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Srimati Chaya Sharma, Dr. Sudha Goyal, Dr. O.P. Sharma, Dr. Mala Kapoor Shankar Das, Ms. Anupama Datta.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Respected gathering, we will now break for lunch. It is a humble request for everyone to please convene by 2:45 p.m. sharp. Thank you so much.